Mega Chandelure is an absolute monstrosity that has potential to be pretty insane in Legends EA Online. I'm going to explain exactly what my plan is with this bad boy, then take it into some online ranked matches and see if I can get it to destroy some people. So first of all, it retains its Ghost Fire typing, and the stats it's working with once it megas are diabolical. The thing gets 175 special attack. It's kind of a glass cannon since it has just 60 HP, but the crazy offense is all you need to know. I'm going to bust out Calm Mind to boost up special attack and special defense, and if we can stick around on the battlefield, things are gonna get melted. We can try to take advantage of Protect to buy time and put Pokemon like Excadrill on a cooldown with its Ground Stab, and then we've got great damage with its combo and Flamethrower along with Shadow Ball. Not gonna lie, Heat Wave is also a really good Fire Stab option if you're feeling that more. While the current meta might give Chandelure a little bit of a hard time with the popularity of dragons and ground types like Garchomps everywhere, Steel types are also incredibly popular, so the plan is to pick some fights with things like Skarmory and Metagross. To complement Chandelure, I'm going to work with Clefable and Vanillux as partners. The Clefable lead can scout matchups while setting up some screens, then Vanillux punishes dragons with crazy freeze dry damage, which should then cycle people back to their Steel Answers and in turn open the door for Chandelure to pop off. The build's going to be modest with max special attack and HP, and Mega Shandy is one of my favorite new megas, so today it's time to go roasting some fools. Okay, so look, this first match I think is a hilarious one. I do some incredibly stupid stuff, but also some things kind of end up working out for me. And I think it's a good display of kind of like what you're looking to do, or what at least you should try to do in this ranked format. When everything seems like chaos, there is some deeper level stuff, and I have a fun time with it. So first of all, I lead off with the Clefable, get a little lay of the land. I noticed there's a Vaporeon chilling here, and they're just going for Aqua Rings and trying to do some setups. So I'm like, I can pop a screen or two. I also realize I can hit it with a Thunderbolt to just get some free Mega Charge. I do take a Hydro Pump that kind of hurts, and as I go over to see what's going on this side of the battlefield, check it out. First of all of a sudden it's a Metagross and an Avalugg duking it out, and that, as an analogy, looks like 2 chocolate cakes to a fat kid, and Chandelure is the fat kid. And check that out, spread the old Flamethrower. I'm able to get 2 kills, pick those off, and then as I turn around, there's a freaking Leafeon out of nowhere. I decide to go for a Protect to see what it wants to do, but it has Dig. So as I thought I was to be able to get another Roast and Toast with a Flamethrower, I'm instead knocked out by a Dig Leafeon. So that was an insane opening sequence. As I respawn here, I also have the Vanillux. I'm like, should I pop that thing out in case Gyarados is around? Nope, I end up going Clefable because I'm like, yeah, I can try to get some screens going. This lady's just over here still chilling with that Vaporeon, which again feels like a safe position to get my screens up on. And then as we have a Garchomp, I meant to switch into the Vanillux. I accidentally go Chandelure, and then I die. The Reflect allowed me to live the Earthquake, but then I get picked off, and I really meant to go into the Ice Cream Cone and collect a free W via Freeze Dry, but doesn't end up happening. I also now see the Metagross and the Avalugg duking it out once again. So guess what? I go Chandelure. He's lagging behind me. I Mega Evolve it just because that special attack boost is nice. If this Avalugg stays around, we are about to melt that thing faster than climate change. And I go for that Flamethrower just into the middle. I do get a knockout, which is amazing. And as I'm being pursued by a Gyarados, it seems like it likely didn't have its Waterfall charge because I can turn around and get that with a Shadow Ball. And as I try to flee to safely, just try to get out of the damn firing range, I do get sniped by a Hydro Pump. So the range on Hydro Pump from that Vaporeon is a little bit of a problem. Now, as I respawn, I notice the Vaporeon's coming to me, so I immediately just go into the Ice Cream. I can bop it with a Freeze Dry, ends up doing less than half, and I'm like, you know what? I should probably get out of here. Well, the one thing you need to do in this ranked mode is really try to pick your safe fights. Now, I run away. I end up going Chandelure to see if I can get some action going there, and then I was just in range from that Hydro Pump again. Let's go to a little instant replay action. I ran away from this Vaporeon thinking I was safely out of range to try to snipe another kill. Nope. The Hydro Pump just got me. So, I should not have sent out Chandelure just knowing that Vaporeon was back there and likely running at me, but it is what it is. And now we're down to less than a minute left in the match, and I decide to just Mega the Chandelure to try to get as much damage as I can. I get a Flamethrower off on the Leafeon. It also is going to connect on the Metagross. That puts me to 6. The double kills with the Flamethrowers are insane. If you have even a resisted hit from a Mega Chandelure is going to hurt. I kind of figured I was going to have to deal with something not great for the Chandelure, but then as I see the Avalugg, I'm like, if I could get one last knockout here, that would be amazing. I do. I roast the Avalugg one more time. Unfortunately, of course, I was being pursued by that Gyarados, which I knew was happening. I was just really trying to prioritize getting another kill. As the match stands, I have 7 kills. There's 10 seconds left. The person in second place is chilling at 6. As I have 10 seconds, I'm like, I might be able to get off another Flamethrower on this Metagross, and there's a chance I can get one more kill. Sadly, however, they switch to a Charizard. So I don't die there, which is amazing, but that is going to be the end of the match on that one. And sweet Jesus, things are intense in this game mode. So to end things off, I do take the first place with the 7 kills. And well, I did some stupid stuff. It ended up working out. Chandelure just gets kills if you can get good matchups, which is hard to do in this ranked mode. It's like no matter what, you're never safe. There's always somebody that's going to switch to something that can instantly kill you. So it's like there's not a second where you have control of a match. But hey, that's going to bring us into the next game. Also, I understand, especially on my channel where we just focus on turn-based Wi-Fi battles, this may not be everybody's cup of tea. I'm having a fun time literally just messing around with it. It's something that's kind of a nice breath of fresh air in a world where Scarlet and Violet has been out for like 9 damn years and there's been nothing new. So this to me is a good thing to kind of hold us over for until Champions comes out. And I think that it's fun to look at competitive Pokemon in a whole new way. And this is kind of it's completely new to everybody. So I think it's cool. I'm having fun with it. Hopefully you are too. And if you are, hey, leave a like on the video. Or also don't. But if you don't, I cannot promise you will not be flamethrowered via Mega Chandelure. I don't make the rules. Anyway, I lead off with the Clefable once again. Scout the little lay of the land. Immediately start off next to freaking Garchomp. And I thought as they were going to kind of switch, I go for the Reflect there just to see what's happening. I am going to continue to pursue this Garchomp though. His Clefable's fat ass is way back over there. We've got a ton of dragon activity in the area. And I also have Thunderbolt on this Clefable specifically, you know, for things like Gyarados. Turns out though, this Dragonite does bop it with a Thunder Punch, so the Gyarados is gone. I figured I'm going to be dealing with some Garchomp. So this time I actually have Mega Scolipede. And I get up a free Swords Dance there to see what I can get going with the Pede. I just love Scolipede. I can kind of pick fights versus Garchomps, especially if I at least have that Reflect up. I go for an Earthquake, get a little bit of damage there. As they do dig, I end up swapping back into Clefable, because if I can grab a free Moonblast kill, that would be a nice time. And my objective a lot of the time is use Clefable to try to charge up my Mega. If I can also then send out Chandelure behind screens, shit's about to get spicy. Now, but also as I see the Skarmory here, everybody does seem to have one Steel type at least on their team. A lot of the time it's Excadrill. As we're dealing with a Skarmory here, I'm immediately going to swap into the Chandelure. They do go for a Drill Run, however, but I click the Mega button right in time. And this thing is now being chased down by an evil Chandelure, which is able to roast it with the Flamethrower, and that is incredibly satisfying. They were probably on a cooldown for the switch there. And then as I'm just cruising around, we're now met with a freaking Metagross, which is a fantastic matchup. I do hit it with a Shadow Ball, and as it doesn't quite get the kill, the next Flamethrower is able to do it. And also, I think I burnt a Garchomp in the process, which is sweet. So I actually cannot switch at this point, and I am in danger via Sharky Death. And as this Garchomp's coming at me, the Dragonite also joins the fight. In fact, if I can get one Shadow Ball off on that Chomp, I would have the knockout. Unfortunately, I do go down, however. We're sitting at 2 kills. The entire field now has 2 kills, and this is a really close game here. So I got to try to play it as safe as possible. So we notice that there is a Mega Gyarados, and I'm immediately just going to go right into Clefable to get a Reflect up. And as much as I wouldn't mind getting a nice little Moonblast off on the thing, I now decide to go Chandelure, and it works out great because they end up swapping into Metagross. There's also a Lucario on the field, and as I go for the Flamethrower, they're just out of range, which always seems to be the case for me. It's kind of annoying, but now they go back into the Mega Gyarados, and while I am still behind Reflect, I should be able to take an attack. As I target the Lucario with the Flamethrower, it looks as I get the kill, but then the Gyarados faints. I think I accidentally somehow targeted the Gyarados in the process, but I will absolutely take a kill anyway. Now look, Dragonite comes in, I'm able to get the Protect off, which is incredibly satisfying. I just throw a Flamethrower around because if that Lucario wants to do his crazy furry nonsense in my house, he's gonna maybe catch a stray Flamethrower one of these days. So I continue to try to target this freaking Lucario, but it does disappear with the Dig. Everybody's using Dig these days, but I think I get the kill on the Garchomp there, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm nearly dead. I switched to Clefable's fat ass just to try to live something. It does much better against the Tyranitar, but it does still end up getting the knockout. But that is gonna be the end of the match. Now look, I'm sitting at 4 kills. Everybody else with 3. As long as nobody was able to pick off one snipe at the end there, I will be the sole freaking winner of the match, hopefully. And as it comes down to it, I did get the 4th kill, and that's going to be a tremendous dub. So while these games are only 3 minutes long, there is so much action packed into it that it's actually crazy. It's really fun in my opinion. Once you start to kind of realize what's happening in these games, rather than just like a big cluster, I don't know, it does have its nuances that I think people can appreciate. Also, as I don't play, I make misplays and I'm really just running around, messing around, but it's still fun. That's now going to bring us into the next match. I think what is really fun about these matches for me is like specifically having an objective, right? Like today I'm trying to just get Chandelure to do as much as I possibly can. And to me, that feels more fun than just like messing around with like the most meta team and seeing what you can do. I don't know. Anyway, we're in the courtyard this time, which feels like the smallest map. I don't know. It seems like there's not as much running around area, but I do lead off with the Clefable just to see what's happening. This is my safest bet. I do immediately see a Garchomp, and I see a Skarmory for Alligator. So the Garchomp is who I'm immediately going to run over to, and most of the time I would click Reflect expecting a switch here, but I decided to just throw a Moonblast out and just see what happens, and I get a kill for it. So it pays off, and then as I immediately go into the Chandelure to see what I can do against the Skarmory, I go for the Flamethrower, and I'm able to grab the kill there, which is amazing, but then freaking Crocodile comes and punches me, so I like have to get that thing out of there. And as I go, Scolipede is my only last kind of alive option. I click an Earthquake just to see if I can get some spread damage. It doesn't end up working out great, but as I have one more switch, I go back to Chandelure just to see if I can get one more little roast action. And I immediately miss a Flamethrower on the Skarmory, but as I click the Mega just to dodge an attack, I'm over here just like on my last breath. But Chandelure, immediately as I have a Mega up, I'm like, if a Shadow Ball connects on something, it's gonna hurt. So I throw a Shadow Ball out. Sadly, the Feraligatr gets the best of me, but honestly, not a bad start with 2 kills, as you know, we're already a minute into the match. So I decided to just immediately toss back out the Chandelure, but that seems like a bad idea because there's a Garchomp and there's a Gyarados, and I'm like, you know, sometimes I'm a little too focused on getting the highlight mon to do stuff, but I notice a huge triple cluster going on in this corner over here. So I'm going to pop a Calm Mind, and even without Mega, I will be able to grab a kill here. It spreads out a little bit because now the freaking Gator comes at me, but I get it with a Shadow Ball before it's able to do much. And then I have 2 Steel types on the battlefield. So I go for a Flamethrower. It is able to get the Skarmory there. Metagross is pursuing me, likely with some ground coverage. It does try the Earthquake, but as I go into Clefable on accident, I did not mean to do that. So now I've got freaking Fairy type out. I do get back into this Scolipede, but wasting switches like that is not ideal, but I can at least get an Earthquake off, and that ends up great because it does finish off the Metagross. There was also a Mega Excadrill there that would have been sweet to grab a kill on, but I can go back to Chandelure, and another Flamethrower on the Skarmory is incredibly satisfying. This Chandelure is built to just bully the Steel types that everybody has. Now, the problem with using all my switches is that now as freaking Garchomp comes in and Swords Dances in front of me, I can't do anything, and I find myself just in a general bad spot there. But as we get a little bit of a breather, I have 6 kills. The rest of the field has 5, so I'm honestly relatively safe here. And I'm just going to throw back out the Chandelure and just go ahead and throw some fire at this double situation of Skarmory and Excadrill. Sadly, they both just get out of range as I'm on cooldown for Flamethrower. Excadrill is a scary fight because if it goes for that Earthquake, I am in danger. I do decide to Mega here, hoping that I missed that Earthquake, and it works out. However, the Garchomp is now in front of me, so I am obviously afraid of that. I probably should have left Chandelure in because it did seem safe, as now I have the Scolipede. I Earthquake, but it doesn't get anybody, and I'm like, I'm just going back to this Chandelure, baby. I'm still Mega'd. This Metagross does not want the smoke, but it turns out it does, because the Earthquake gets me just before the Flamethrower came through. And that should have been a situation where I grabbed another knockout, but it doesn't end up working out. And again, now there's 10 seconds left. I can go ahead and try to steal a kill here with a Flamethrower. Freaking Metagross just gets out of range, which is annoying. But at least the great part about Metagross matchups is that Shadow Ball still does finish it off, but somebody stole my damn kill. And that's Skarmory. If there was another 3 seconds left, you better believe your ass would have been sent to the Shadow Realm. So unfortunately, they're able to break through and just avoid the death there. But we still end the match with 6 kills. That is going to put us at the top. And Chandelure, this team composition I'm messing around with, I kind of go back and forth between the Vanillux and the Scolipede as my third option. It's really fun. The Scolipede is basically there as little ground resist. The problem is it just doesn't punish the ground type. So for the remainder of the games here, I believe we're going to switch to the Vanillux kind of being our third option. If that's all right with you. If anybody wants 2 scoops, I got you. Okay, moving on to our next match. Now this I think is another interesting one. We have that Vanillux back, so hopefully there's a bunch of dragons that I can punish. Of course though, we lead off with a chewed piece of bubblegum just to see what's happening. Now I see a Frostlass across, there's a Lucario on the left and then an Ampharos on the right. So overall Chandelure still looks pretty nice here depending on what their secondaries are. I decided to just go ahead and pop a screen here with a Reflect, just see what's happening with that. And then I just immediately go Chandelure. There's 2 Lucarios now running around. I'm like, oh hell yes. Let me get a little collateral damage. I go for that Flamethrower. I just barely nicked the other guy, and he freaking lives it with like 2. Which is wildly unfortunate because now they can go into freaking Dragonite, but this is why we've got the Ice Cream Cone. I really would like to try to hit this guy with a Freeze Dry, but they switch out just in time, and then the freaking Lucario from behind gets me with an Iron Tail. So things are not starting off great in the beginning here, but if these people want to continue to mess with these Lucarios, I'm going to try to punish it with the Chandelure. So as I go into this thing to try to get the Lucario, I'm instead met with the Frostlass, and I'm like, that'll do. I'll roast that thing too, but it runs out of the way. So I figure while I'm kind of safe, I go for a Calm Mind, and now I've got a double situation where I could get the kill on the Frostlass and the Lucario, but the Lucario steals the kill and runs away. So That is not ideal. What's also not as ideal is I die to a freaking ice punch from that Lucario. So I am down tremendously. But it still looks like the Chandelure can bring us back in this match. I have 0 kills, but I've got my Mega. And that feels nice because there's also 2 Lucarios fighting each other. I'm like, oh, please, get over there and flamethrower both of them, please. I do get a kill on one of them. That could have easily been a nice little double kill. Unfortunately, it is not. But now we got a second to breathe, see what people's matchups are going to be. I also noticed I haven't even realized there's an Aegislash here, so I'm like, oh, I'll go ahead and Shadow Ball that. Nope, they do end up switching into a Greninja, and then as I turn around, I just get roasted by a Dragonite. So yeah, you know, there's the non-flashbacks are absolutely coming back, and now there's kind of not a lot of things out here that Chandelure wants to deal with. So I decided to go into Clefable. I can reset some screens, I can throw some Moonblast around and just see what happens. This Greninja is flying around all helicopter crazy. And I do go back into Chandelure though, because I'm like, it's in range. If I get a flamethrower off on either of these, they're dead. Luckily for us, this Lucario just stands there and just takes one right to the chin. So, you know, we do get a knockout there. And as I go for the Mega here, Aegislash is back out along with another Lucario. So I'm like, bro, there is a shot that I just turn this game completely around. And as they're clustered up here, I really would love to get a flamethrower off. And it does work out because Frostlass stays. I do get a kill on that thing, which is amazing. And then I get another kill on the Aegislash. So just like that, I'm up to 4 kills. There's another Lucario. That thing somehow switched in time. It took the entirety of that flamethrower, but for whatever, it somehow switched into the freaking Hippo. That's some bullshit. Game Freak, I'm pissed off. The Hippowdon does get me with an Earthquake. And as I'm at 4 kills here, I'm like, I could still turn this around. Lucario Mega, so they're probably not going to want to switch it out. Let me get a flamethrower here. Even without Mega, we might get a knockout. Sadly, though, the Ampharos does the work for us and, you know, steals the kill there. So now with 10 seconds left, I'm like, who can I snipe on? I got my Mega. There's 2 guys over here. I do get the flamethrower off. Sadly, the thing in the back was Greninja. Well, I do knock out the Lucario, though. That is an insane ending. I do get somehow sniped by a freaking longest range Earthquake ever, and that Hippo gets me. But, you know, so things didn't go super great for us there, but I still get some big old roast and toast with the Chandelure, which is, of course, always sweet. I do sadly end up with 5 kills. That puts me in 3rd. I almost had it. Had I just been able to get one more thing to go right for me there, that would have been a big dub. But still, fun match, interesting times. And that is going to bring us into one final match here. Shout out to Emma with the the Emma thigh photo. And it is going to be in the freaking courtyard once again. This place feels like the most difficult for me. It feels the smallest, and it's like once you do even find a matchup, there's always somebody behind you that's just trying to beat you up. And that's kind of the beauty of these matches anyway. But anyway, we see a Garchomp. I see a Chandelure over there also, which is interesting. I'm immediately going to go for this Chomp and set up a little reflect action. So the calm before the storm is always fun. Interesting note also, you can use plus light screen and plus reflect. It will stick around longer. But I get dual screens up here, and then this Chandelure tries to pick a fight me with it. I go for a Thunderbolt just to basically, you know, just farm some Mega points here. And then I'm like, you know what, I might as well Moonblast that Garchomp. I do get it off, and then also as this Garchomp, I'm like, you know what, it's going to be nice to just try to freeze dry it, because the Ice Cream just loves killing Chomps. And sadly, as I do get the freeze dry off, it just hits the Metagross, which does nothing. But then the beauty of this team is that I can just immediately go Chandelure and just try to bully that Metagross. But, you know, as that thing switches out, there's another Metagross out there, so it's a different one. I do get it with a Shadow Ball. Sadly, not enough for the knockout here. If I get one Flamethrower, it's over. But then Garchomp's dumbass was right behind me and punched me. So, you know, down goes the lure. Everybody's got a kill but me, and I got to make something happen. So knowing that the Metagross is out, it does go for the Mega. I am immediately going to go for my own Mega, because then it puts it into range for an easy Flamethrower knockout. But as soon as I do that, of course, freaking Garchomp comes at me, and as I switch to Clefable, then the Garchomp dies, and then Clefable's in danger of Metagross. I'm like, sweet Jesus, it's a game of cat and mouse I can't keep track of. I do just go back into the Chandelure, and there's a little Hawlucha running around crazy, so I'm like, I'll just pick you off and be on my way. I get the knockout there. Sadly, as I switched to Vanillux on this Earthquake, I was in range to get damaged by it, and then as I was almost able to get off my attack, but it can then finish me. So if I was just a little more out of range to that Earthquake, Vanillux would have had the matchup. But it's fine. This person continues to want to send their Metagross out, so I'm going to try to steal these kills. I come in on the Chandelure. It does end up knocking out the Garchomp. Unfortunately for me, I go for the Flamethrower as it Megas, so it avoids that, and it has the Earthquake, and now I almost have my Flamethrower back or the Shadow Ball. I do get off a Shadow Ball, but it's barely able to live, and then it picks me off. So I'm like, damn, we're struggling out here, but the game is still close. It's 2-3, 2-2. And I got to try to get Chandelure's ass back out here and hope I can make something happen. It really is difficult on this map, especially when there's Chomps running around. And I even try to Shadow Ball that Gardevoir, but it switches out in time. And then there's all of a sudden a Tyranitar that hasn't been here all day. But I decided to pop a Calm Mind while its back is turned. I'm like, maybe I can freely set up here and then go for a Mega as it attacks. I do avoid the attack there, and as the freaking Hawlucha comes through, it just knocks it with a little close combat there. And then I'm like, oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks for helping me out with that T-Tar. I will kill you instead. So I get the kill on the Hawlucha. And now Chandelure is Mega. I'm full health. I'm having a nice time, except for the fact that now there's 2 Garchomps. So 2 Garchomps, 1 scoop for each of you. I go to the ice cream and I get the double kill with the freeze dry, which is sick as hell. But then Hawlucha, of course, ruins my day with the flying press. But that puts me in the #1 spot with the 5 knockouts. And now all I got to do is maybe grab 1 more, and I think I can solidify this dub. The Metagross is back, so I'm going back to Chandelure. Sadly, as I don't have my Mega, I try to just Flamethrower through the Garchomp and get the Metagross. It doesn't have enough for the knockout, unfortunately. And as the game is winding down here, that's going to come to the conclusion, but nobody else was able to get 1 more knockout. And so guess what? Those 5 kills that I was able to muster were going to be enough. Shout out to the Vanillux for getting that double kill on both of those Garchomps. That's exactly why we put Buddy on the team. We are going to end up with the crown on that one, and that was crazy. Honestly, I think these matches are really fun. While it is probably pretty difficult to follow, I don't know. I'm doing my best. Moral of the story is, for this channel, we're just basically messing around until Champions comes out. That's going to be the true sauce, right? We need some turn-based combat. I'll try to still get in some Scarlet and Violet battles if that's what you guys are into, if you're even still watching. Just, you know, might as well. There's something new. I'm going to for sure just check it out and see what I can make happen. So thank you guys very much for watching. For all the support is amazing. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.